What is up, dudes? Welcome back to some DCS action. Haven't made a video in a minute, been kind of busy with real life. That slowed down a smidge for me, which is nice. And I spent the last few days playing around with the Apache, which has been awesome. Playing with friends is great. Multi-crew works pretty well. It's a little bit buggy, waiting for a patch. However, if you do start from cold and dark with everything in the same state for both players, it seems to work pretty well. We're back on the Persian Gulf map here with another AI Apache, and we're going to do some Convoy Escort. It's a mission that I originally made for the Huey. Works even better, if not a little bit easy for the Apache. So let's see if I can make this work today. Battery started. Make sure my power levers are back, and we'll get the APU going. Go, and we'll start with engine number 1.
Rotor RPM low.
We're going to turn off the AH-64D for now.
Rotor RPM low.
20%. We'll introduce fuel.
Engine 1 out. Engine 1 out.
Shush. Number 1's stable, and the oil pressure's coming back down. Let's go engine number 2. NG and fuel. Shut up. While that's coming on, let's do this. Weapons, bore sight. In order to make the bore sight work, we need to rotate this primary light all the way over here. Go to AH-64D. Now we've got our concentric rings. Turn my AH-64D back on. The way that this works for me the best, zoom all the way in. And then I'm going to pause it when I get it right in the middle. Right there, zoom out. And we can click on the bore sights. And we're good. Doesn't get much better than that. Go back to our weapons page here, turn that back off now while we're starting back up. Oil pressure's coming down on engine number 2, so we are going to start to bring up the power levers now. Alright, now we've got enough RPM that the generators can take over the load, so I can turn off the APU. Close that bad boy. And that's pretty much it. It is very easy. We'll engage our standby attitude indicator, and now all we got to do is basically wait for an alignment. And in order to check that out, we'll go to TSD and utility page. Get the Doppler going, and we're basically just waiting for these guys to turn green. Some other things I can set up here for me that works pretty good. Manual range. Now if you click over here, you can do A and enter for auto ranging. However, it's going to default back whenever to 1500 whenever you switch between weapons. So a thing that works for me pretty good if I'm controlling the gun is to set that for 1000. Now our range there. And one thing I want to make sure we do is acquisition mode. We're going to select tabs. That way, when I've got the AH-64D going and if I tell him to look for something, if he spots a target, it's going to show me a crosshair where he's looking, so I can make sure that we're both on the same page for that. Some other things that I would do if I was flying with other people, change the codes for missiles, so we're not locking onto each other's laser codes, and laser search, and you can select different channels here too. Don't need to worry about that today because we're going to be flying solo with this guy. Personally, I find the Apache kind of hideous, but it's so hideous it looks aggressive, which makes it pretty badass too. Seeing a couple of these flying in formation is pretty neat. Alright, let's go back to TSD. We're going to go map. Turn this off for 1 second. Chart type, we'll go satellite. And I'll leave that where it's at. We can find our way back there. There is a way to make a point. Let me see if I can do this. Add. Let's go waypoint 3, maybe? I don't know if that's going to work or not. I don't know how to add a waypoint in here. There is a way to save your initial point, but I'm not going to pretend like I know how to do that. I can find my way back to the airport. We do have a route out there that you can see. That's the way that the convoy is going to go. So I can more or less follow that once we get there. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through town. So we're going to head that way to waypoint number 1. Let me make sure that's selected point. Waypoint 1 is active. Clear that out too. Don't need you. And we're pretty much ready to go. Flying it is easy if you're used to helicopters. The trim's a little bit of a trick, but once you get the hang of it, it's not bad at all. And you can see our waypoint out there. That's where we're headed. That being said, watch me bumble this takeoff. A little bit of left pedal. Usually it seems to require a little bit of aft cyclic, but not much. And we're up. Taxi over here past our friend. And we'll let her rip here. Pretty fast for a helicopter too. 123 here at only 82% torque with pretty much a full load. I've got 2,100 pounds of fuel, 2 fully loaded rocket pods, and 8 Hellfires. So get our master arm going here. And I know that there, once we get a little bit closer, there's going to be an APC pretty much right off the bat. So I'm going to go ahead and have him go. Let's set burst 10 on the guns.
Setting burst to 10.
And we'll select the Hellfires.
Hellfire's up.
Give it in low ball within the trajectory, direct trajectory. I'm going to go straight to looking for that first APC just to get him out of the way, and then I'll go back and try to mop up some guys with guns. I'm going to slow it down here as well too. Keep it around 100 knots, seems to work pretty well. Guys down here somewhere. There they are. Rolling. I'm gonna go ahead and tell flight to engage ground
Flight.
targets.
Engage targets of opportunity.
Sometimes you gotta do that twice. Flight, engage. Have 5,
Flight.
please.
Engage targets of opportunity.
So there's one up here, right here. So I'm gonna go up short on the George menu.
Slaving.
He's looking APC.
Target stored.
forgot to set up my TADS page.
Missile.
Firing.
Left.
Rifle. What we'll do is go down here. Video, TADS.
Target
Select
destroyed.
TADS. We got a tank. All right, he can shut up now.
Roger. Ceasefire.
Close that up, and I'm gonna select the gun. Now I'm controlling the gun with my head. And it looks like our buddy just popped something down there as well too. Let me switch this back to our TSD. We'll follow this route back here in a minute. Okay, we got some targets here. Guy on that roof, 2 guys on that roof. Alright, oh, he's got a rocket launcher. Probably not the smartest idea to see 2 Apaches flying around and decide to engage those with your AK-47, but thanks for showing me where you're at, dude. Two guys with guns here. That's super handy, being able to see through the helicopter, because those little bars in the front of the cockpit get kind of intrusive. And that's your pinvis. So pinvis up to that center position, and now I can look through the helicopter basically. Also really awesome at night. It's very easy to use at night once you get used to that sight picture. Don't even use the NVGs, just use that FLIR. I think there was a guy with a rocket launcher on this roof over here too, if he's not dead already. Something else that works if you're not going to use the pinvis is to offset that so you can kind of see out your window there. The gun's going to slave. He was on that roof, he might be dead. Oh, he's in the street right there. Dead. Ya bitch. Swing back around and go down the main street where those guys are going to be coming through here in a moment. See what we can see. Oh, it looks like one of them has been hit. Somebody's on fire down there. That's a fellow. Where are you? I think we got him. Oh, another rocket launcher there. Too late. See if I can get there before these guys do, because they're going to get popped with another RPG here in a minute. Oh, they're lighting him up. Got him. Have him look back up here down the road, see if he can see anything. Any armor.
Slaving.
Just infantry, so we will take that back and we'll use the gun. Guy on this roof. Dead. Just infantry still. Looks like that's where the our other helicopter launched that Hellfire earlier. I'm gonna stick around this area and just make sure there's no one along this street as the convoy's turning down here. Turn up my volume on him, huh? Take him out. I should actually probably tell him to stop so I can kill something too. Rejoin formation maybe?
Flight, join up. 2, rejoin.
Convoy is here, making sure these guys are still alive for the most part. We lost one, I'm pretty sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6. I think we got one down. These guys are looking good, so I'm gonna kind of extend myself down the route and see what else we can find before they get there.
Slaving. I'm deslaved.
APC, huh? Where is he? Alright, my acquisition mode went back to fixed, so let's select Tad so I can see. Alright, he's looking up here. I think we can get a shot on him. Let's go.
Blazed and stored. Engaging.
Rifle.
Target destroyed.
Hell yeah. Take that back.
Roger,
Oh,
ceasefire.
we got some tracers down here. Make sure my gun is armed again. See where he was shooting at us from. Again, not the smartest idea to open fire with tracers, particularly on an Apache. Dead. And for what it's worth, this helicopter would be pretty hard to use without track IR, I think. Because so much of that is using your head to aim a lot of these weapons. I mean, even the rockets themselves, even though you're kind of limited laterally, the up and down motion on the swivel for the rockets is controlled by your head. And doing all that while you're using the other controls to manipulate the helicopter would be kind of a feat. But we just all pop down here. DCS in general benefits a lot from having track IR. It's worth the investment, in my opinion. those.
Roger. Ceasefire.
And we'll go back and see if Convoy's still doing okay here. Oh, definitely a rocket launcher down there. I just saw that little puff of smoke. Fortunately not a man pad. I think he's down, I think I see him there. Next to that building, just off the street. Get it back inside of our azimuth. Here we go. Little collateral damage. Dead. He is most certainly dead. Better idea than the AK-47 though. At least he stands a chance if you get a hit. Anybody else along this road? Here, which we can see. That is so cool. Like I said, during the day, this is a little distracting because there's a little bit, tiny bit of lag on it, and it's hard to make your brain work that out. But at night, when that's your primary, I guess, ability to see, it's much easier. Like I said, really cool thing to use at night. Oh, shooting somebody. I don't know if they were shooting or being shot at.
In position to the left.
Thanks. Freaking cool. I know that there's one more APC way down here, so what I'm going to do is swing out here to the south. And I'll select George here and have him look in the general vicinity. I know that that armor's at. See if we can get a kill here. And while I'm thinking about it, since I know I'm going to do it, let's pull up our video, go to TADS. TADS, there we go. So now this is going to give us ranging and time to the target once it's fired. So I'm going to select, zoom in a little bit there. So I believe that there's only one more armored target here along the route. Man, when I did this with the Huey, I was full of holes at the end. Like I said, it feels kind of like playing in God mode with this thing. In a mission that was made for the Huey, let alone the Hind. Some of the missions that my friends and I had made for playing the Hind or even the K-50, which was fairly advanced too, they're just too easy with the Apache. Too much power, if there is such a thing. And it's only going to get better too with the implementation of the FCR. So right now it's kind of bare bones, it's early access, but once the FCR becomes available, that'll be a game changer as well. So somewhere in this vicinity, I believe. Have him looking. There he is.
Contact bearing 041.1.
Target is stored.
Again, let's keep going back to, there we go. Got him locked.
Engaging.
Rifle. Hopefully he does this before he fires on us. 2 seconds. Kill.
Target destroyed.
Fucking easy. I'll take that back.
Copy. Ceasefire.
And we will close you up, and I'll go back to our TSD page, and I'll reselect. I've already got the gun selected. Now I'm just going to walk my way back through the route that we've got there and just see if I can mop up any remaining infantry. Pretty much all we got to do is wait for them to get here over this side of town. Also, a little like Jester in the F-14 boat. Oh, where you at? Dead. Multi-crew, seeing the head move around, being able to turn around and look at them, seeing them in the mirror, it's pretty neat. In George, the one complaint that I have about the George AI is that when you point him in a certain direction, he will just pick up everything on the map, and that's why that acquisition mode is important down here. So if I select, it's on TADS obviously, then I can see what he's looking at. When I first got it, I was really frustrated because he's picking up everything, and I felt like I didn't know what he was looking at. And then I realized that with that acquisition mode set to TADS, I can actually see and make sure that we're looking at the same target. Plus, again, like I said, if I go down here to vid, and then TADS, select the TADS up there, you get all this information and you can see exactly what he's looking at with the FLIR. But for now, I want that TSD, and the convoy is just under. Turn back around and we'll see if we can get them through the rest of the city. Pretty sure that's it in terms of any serious opposition. Sure where I put the endpoint here for them to get a mission complete, but it seems like we are completely clear down here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and send flights RTB.
Flight RTB.
That way he's not going to be an issue. Like sometimes when you're trying to land and you're slowing down, I always get the fear that they're going to crash into you, cause some sort of mid-air collision. think what I'm going to do here, they are clear pretty much all the way to the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and swing myself around and try to RTB. I am going to look back through the route. I'm going to go back to waypoint 1 on the way and see how many we lost. I think it was just that one, and I don't know what kind of vehicle it was. I would assume maybe one of the Humvees. I could pick up my speed a little bit too, and they should be clear. There we go, mission complete. Didn't all make it out alive, but good enough. One of the things, I kind of mentioned earlier, the trim being a little bit of a trick, is that there is no trim reset like there is for a lot of other helicopters. And I know that that's something that ED is going to be implementing, but at the same time, when you get used to it, you don't really need it. You're always kind of trimming and in trim anyway. And with the stability augmentation, I don't know how many channels there are modeled exactly at the moment, but it seems to work pretty well. A little twitchy for my taste. I put some curves on it, but the problem with curves is obviously towards the center range, it softens it up a little bit, but the more that you depress the controls in one direction or another, the more that that curve comes in. So it goes from feeling soft or squishy to being full deflection, which isn't necessarily the best. So in most cases, I tend to prefer less curve than more, but then it requires a little bit of finesse. Just like any module in DCS, they all require a little bit of a learning curve anyway, and this is no different. But as far as helicopters go, like I said, this is probably one of the easiest ones to fly. Even to implement the weapons and stuff. The startup procedure is a couple clicks, and same thing with the weapons. George does a pretty good job. It feels almost a little bit OP in terms of his ability to acquire targets on the battlefield, but other than that, very, very easy. Pretty smooth. Pretty smooth release for ED2. There weren't too many bugs. Obviously people complaining about the desync thing, but that's a multi-crew issue for any aircraft, I think. Could go faster. Still at 130 here, which is pretty fast for a helicopter. But you can see the temperature up there in the top left, 790 degrees Celsius. So I don't want to go too much harder on that. In fact, let me pull up the AC. I don't know what the range is. So 780. So there's your yellows. I'm guessing somewhere in the 8s. Good thing I got back in the cockpit because that crane could have been an issue. I think he was somewhere along this main road. I think it was before they took any of these turns, so he should be straight up here, near where we started, where they started. Crane, clear. Yeah, that's him right there. What are you, my friend? Oh no, looks like an APC of some type. Got him good. You did, buddy. Sorry about that. Alright, now we can RTB. The sounds are amazing too. What I'm kind of looking forward to is actually playing some combined arms as maybe a laser spotter, JTAC or something like that. I think that the sounds would make that amazing. It is really cool seeing that stuff from the ground and hearing it because ED does a phenomenal job with sound design. Smoke's coming from the southwest, so what we're going to do is kind of join a left downwind, swing it around, and we'll hover taxi back. I actually have not taxied on the ground at all. I kind of feel like it's noob territory to not hover taxi a helicopter, so we'll land it and hover taxi back to our parking spot. Hopefully won't embarrass myself too bad. Over there. Indeed. I'll start slowing it down here. The IHADS makes flying this a lot easier too. With your head out the window like this, turning, you can still see over on the right side that vertical speed. You got your center line where you're at 0, and then that little triangle is showing you whether you're climbing or descending. Makes it really easy to kind of figure out what control input to be putting in to maintain altitude or to slow down. Big thing that people, I guess, new to helicopters experience, VRS and settling with power, and that's all about your vertical speed. Keeping it inside of 300 to 500 feet per minute will keep you out of those. And if you do get into it, pull collective, and then in this helicopter, since it's it's a normal American rotating blade, it's going to be left pedal and right cyclic to slip out of it. You can do that with the minimum amount of altitude loss, but like I said, you can avoid getting into those in the first place just by maintaining a vertical speed of less than 300 feet per minute. Now we're at Cessna approach speeds here. Like I said, we'll do a taxiway landing and then I'll hover taxi over to our parking. And you can see we're slowing down. That's hands off right there, a little bit of collective, but I'm keeping it in trim so that when I finally get down to the bottom, I'm not going to have to do a whole bunch of work. Wouldn't even bother with a trim reset, to be honest. Keep it coming downhill here. And VRS and settling with power, also again, as long as you're keeping probably above 20 knots or so forward airspeed, not an issue either. It's really when you're kind of slowing down and trying to hover or to do a vertical takeoff or landing outside of ground effect that becomes an issue. So I'm actually going to increase my descent rate because we're still a little high here, but I got a ways to go down the taxiway. And I can use that velocity vector out there too to kind of increase or decrease collective as needed to put me where I want it to be vertically. So right about there in line with that taxiway. So I'll keep the collective right there. And I'll keep the speed there. We'll slow it down even further once we get into ground effect. Big trick to hovering helicopters too, don't look down. Get your eyes all the way out and then you can see all those little micro movements that the helicopter is doing. Alright, coming into ground effect here, inside of 50 feet. I'll slow it down a little bit more. And I can use these turns, hover taxiing, to help bleed off the rest of that speed. But we'll keep it where it's at for now. It's feeling pretty good. Get off the taxiway and head on down to parking. The airport that I work at, been twice now. Actually, I think 3 times. I stopped for fuel 3 times, going to training from Kentucky down somewhere in Florida, but the 160th SOAR, which is the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, they fly those UH-60s with aerial refueling probes. They're the Special Forces guys, and they've come into our airport a couple times for refueling, and watching them take off and land and taxi is freaking phenomenal. It's awesome. Down by the Chinooks, it is Blackhawks. If our guy made it back here too. There's where we took off. I can see the refueling truck. I don't see our partner just yet. And there's where that, it feels to me there's a little bit of rudder twitchiness there, but I'm sure that's going to get better just with practice. Here we go, dudes. I'm not going to bother with the APU. Let me just turn off some of these things before we shut it down. That's pretty much all I need to worry about. I'm going to bring the power levers back.
Rotor RPM low. Rotor RPM low.
And battery off. I know we took a couple of hits with some AK-47s, but I don't see any damage. I know the damage model is something that's going to be fleshed out, but I've definitely lost a tail rotor a time or two. A little off the center line there. My OCD. Don't know where our guy is. I don't know what base he returned to, or if he's somewhere else at the airport. I don't know. Anyway, very cool helicopter, guys. And like I said, for an early release, or early access, I guess rather, ED has done a really good job doing this, and I complained a lot, I think, amongst my friends about having to wait from December back to March, but definitely seemed to have paid off. Smooth release. Looking forward to the things that are still going to come in the future. So, yeah, definitely recommend it if you're into helicopters. It is kind of a taxing helicopter. You can see probably a little bit of frame rate degradation, but if you got a PC that can handle it, 100% worth it if you're a helicopter guy. And even if you're not, it's a good place to start to learn because it stability augmentation and stuff like that makes it pretty forgiving to fly, even without rudder pedals. I know that one of the guys that was flying with us, he ended up buying some in the end, but he started off with the X56 with just a twist rudder, and it worked well for him. So, would recommend. Also, something I'm thinking about ways to make a setup here for actually doing real life ground school tutorials for things for aviation. I've got students that constantly teaching the same things to people, the same areas where people struggle. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll work on a way to get a setup here where I can make that happen. Whiteboard or some sort of software that I can visualize some of the things that I'm constantly teaching in real life. So if you're interested in real life flying tutorials or things that might help you out in aviation, let me know. Questions, comments about aviation, I'm always available in the comment section, guys. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time. We love you. Peace.